lightning, tornadoes,
that's wild,
flash flooding, heavy winds, and even those breezy summer days. Severe weather season can change in an instant. Plan, prepare, and protect your family. It takes team coverage when minutes matter.
Thanks so much for joining us at Harbor One Marina in Old Saybrook. We're here at SeaTow's headquarters to get you ready for the severe weather season ahead.
Why? Because summer's almost here. It's time to head outside.
But severe weather can happen in the blink of an eye.
Summer can bring some of the most dangerous weather months of the year.
That's why we're here to help you when minutes matter the most.
Tonight, we'll talk about the summer storms that can strike in a flash.
Oh my God!
And heating up the summer season prediction, we break down the science and how you can stay safe.
Taking on tropical storms and hurricanes, we give you a look back at what kind of severe weather Connecticut is capable of throughout the summer.
Plus, talking tornadoes and their path of destruction. We'll show you how it forms and where summer's still picking up the pieces from a microburst.
And the dog days of summer means hydrate more to worry less. The steps to take in a heat wave for you and your pets.
So grab your sunscreen, shades, and a beach umbrella, and let's dive into this year's summer forecast. The last few years, our weather has been influenced by La Nina, but this year is different. Now we have an El Nino developing with warmer than average water in the equatorial Pacific. And this can affect the way the air circulates across the globe and is usually good news for people who live on America's shorelines. El Nino typically reduces hurricane activity because of increased wind shear, which can tear tropical storms apart. Hooray, less storms, or not so fast. This storm deterrent may get canceled out by extremely warm sea surface temperatures. Warm water acts like fuel for tropical storms. This push and pull of conflicting signals leave forecasters like myself scratching my head. The tropical dilemma is also important to figure out when forecasting summer rains, because some of the wettest summers on record have been from tropical systems. That doesn't mean that we can't get rain from other sources like thunderstorms, but one piece of the puzzle is definitely missing. So summer rain is kind of a toss-up this year, but what about temperatures? There isn't a strong correlation between El Nino and summer temperatures. A better indicator is the North Atlantic Oscillation and Arctic Oscillation. Both are global weather patterns that change the jet stream's orientation, but good luck figuring that out over a couple of weeks in advance. The trend for warmer summers extends a lot longer than that. Over the last 50 years, our climate has been changing, and summers have been getting warmer. Get the AC tuned up. The National Weather Service has high confidence in above average temperatures this summer. Warm and wet? The NWS is leaning towards above average rain, but only with a 30 to 40% confidence. Looking at long range guidance, we don't see any strong reason to disagree. It's a tough call this year. This doesn't mean we won't see long, dry stretches this summer, but hopefully more rain will help keep the drought in check this year. The one thing you can always count on, summer is the season with the most severe weather. On average, Connecticut gets 2 tornadoes per year. Last year was quiet. We only had 1 weak tornado touch down in July. There is no strong correlation between El Nino and the amount of severe weather, but you can usually bet it peaks in July and August when the temperatures are the hottest. Rain or shine, the FOX61 Weather Watch team will be with you every step of the way. When it comes to summer safety, it's important to know how to react when on land or out in the Sound.
And boating safety actually begins onshore with proper planning.
You've probably heard the phrase, red sky at night, sailor's delight.
But red sky in the morning, sailors take warning.
So here's what you should know if you get stuck in a severe storm.
Sights are set on warmer temps and boats dropping in for the season.
The number one thing about boating, your trip starts at home.
At the helm, safety. First with the boating safety class, then it's eyes on the sky.
Your trip starts knowing what the weather conditions are out there and what type of boat you have and what type of weather your boat can deal with.
Once the weather checks out, Captain Thomas Heinsohn from Seatow says,
Well, some people don't realize sometimes the necessary equipment that you have to have on a boat that you're required by the Coast Guard.
that includes enough Coast Guard approved PFDs for everyone.
Personal flotation devices, life jackets. When people buy a boat, if they're new to boating, they run to the store, they buy a bag of 4 life jackets, not realizing it's one size. They don't have the proper size for children, for younger kids, teenagers. So it's about having the right amount of life jackets, the right size for every person on the boat.
According to the U.S. Coast Guard, drownings were responsible for 4 out of every 5 boating fatalities in 2021. And more than 80% of those individuals were not wearing a life jacket. Other items on the necessary checklist include
Your basic marine fire extinguisher, and some people will ask us, I only need 1, right? And my response is, what kind of fire are you gonna have? 2 or 3 wouldn't hurt. You have to have a Coast Guard regulation, valid flares. We have 2 different types here. The last is an auto device.
And when minutes matter, having a location device on you could be life-saving.
Okay, I activate this, it's in me. Okay, it goes off, one of the satellites pick it up. This is registered with NOAA. Okay, they know my numbers, take a few minutes, they track this down.
Newly added to the list is a kill switch attached to the boat and the boat operator, all in an effort to keep you and your family safe while out on the water.
Lightning strikes the United States about 25 million times a year.
Before you head out this summer, meteorologist Ryan Breton has ways for you to stay weather aware before lightning strikes.
Sometimes it's clear and sunny. Other times, big towering clouds can give you a heads up. But certainly, one thing is positive for sure: when thunder roars, go indoors. Sometimes lightning jumps cloud to cloud. Other times, it's cloud to ground. When you see a flash, count the number of seconds until you hear thunder and divide by 5. That's the number of miles the storm is away from you. It takes about 5 seconds for the sound to travel 1 mile. And if you can hear thunder, you are close enough to be struck by lightning. The best shelter from lightning is inside a large, enclosed structure, your home or school. No place outside is safe during a thunderstorm. Stay away from tall, isolated objects like trees or poles. These can become lightning rods. Open structures like gazebos, pavilions, and baseball dugouts are not safe. And if you are caught out in the open, don't get underneath a tree. Find a low spot, crouch low to the ground. Do not lay down. Most importantly, know the forecast, have a way to get warnings, and be ready to find shelter inside when you hear thunder.
The number 1 cause of weather-related deaths is extreme heat, but the number 2 cause might surprise you. It's not tornadoes, it's not hurricanes, it's flash flooding, which is why it's so important for us as meteorologists to figure out if flash flooding is in the forecast. First, we need to consider kind of a no-brainer: heavy rain, but that can be from various sources, maybe a tropical system or a slow-moving thunderstorm. Next up, we need some context. How wet or dry is the soil? How high are the rivers? And finally, we need to know, where is the rain occurring? Is it in a rural area where trees and plants can absorb all of that rainfall, or is it in a city where storm drains can more easily get overloaded? So turn around, don't drown. What does that mean? If there's water on the road in front of you, turn the car around and find a safer route. I think one of the reasons people get in trouble with flash flooding situations is because it doesn't take much water to cause a driver to lose control of their vehicle. For example, it only takes a foot of fast-flowing water to lose control of a car. And maybe you're thinking, well, I've got a big old SUV, I can make it. But it only takes 1.5 to 2 feet of water to lose control of that. So turn around, find a safer route. Otherwise, you're putting your life at risk and the lives of first responders at risk as well.
Wild weather can be as simple as turning up the temperature.
Yeah, we're no stranger to summer scorchers here in Connecticut. Remember last year's heat waves?
It was tough to take, and hot weather can be dangerous, not just for us as humans, but for our furry friends too.
Out with the sleeves and ditching these for something a bit more comfortable to offset that scorching summer sun. Now, protecting yourself from the sun's rays and staying hydrated are top priority for you and for them too. I know, it's fun to get outdoors, but heat can be dangerous. Heat exhaustion and heat stroke occur when your body loses its ability to cool itself down or becomes dehydrated. Also, it can be life-threatening. Here are some signs to look out for. Dizziness, thirst, heavy sweating, weakness, and nausea are signs of heat exhaustion. Confusion, dizziness, headache, or becoming unconscious are signs of heat stroke. If you experience or someone you know experiences these symptoms, seek a cool environment and call 911. And while heat can be dangerous for us, it can be dangerous for our pets too. Every year, hundreds of pets die from heat exhaustion. I know we want to take our pets wherever we go, but cracking a window just isn't safe for them during times of extreme heat. Leaving them at home really is the safest place. Did you know that on a 70-degree day, in just 10 minutes, the temperature in the vehicle jumps to 90 degrees? And on an 85-degree day, let's crank that temperature up just over 100 degrees in 10 minutes. And the longer you wait, the higher that number goes. So bottom line here, love them, leave them home. They'll be wagging their tail, ready for treats when you return.
Summer heat also comes at a cost.
Yeah, and as the summer temperatures heat up, there are lots of ways to keep your house more comfortable and less pricey. Be smart with your thermostat. Set it to a temperature that's just cool enough to keep you comfortable. And clean your air conditioning filters regularly. When it's clogged, your AC will use more power, leading to wasted energy. But for best air circulation in a room, turn on those ceiling fans. When it comes to blocking out excess heat, simply close your curtains or blinds in your homes. And at night, open your windows to cool you down while you sleep.
When Minutes Matter is just getting started. We have plenty of summer weather to walk you through so you can be best prepared.
Ferocious funnels, from twisters to tornadoes, how they form and the havoc that could happen at touchdown. Plus, a story of triumph and teamwork after a microburst rips through Sleeping Giant State Park.
We've seen hurricanes, we've seen bad storms, nothing of this magnitude, not even close.
And later, historic hurricanes, a look back at the storms that packed a punch. That and more when Minutes Matter continues.
Welcome back. Summertime means severe weather season in Connecticut, which comes in many shapes and forms, including heavy rain, hail, lightning, and even tornadoes.
Yeah, Connecticut is no stranger to those. And before you know it, you may see a spinning column of gray headed your way.
So how do those ferocious funnel clouds form? Tornadoes usually develop on warm and humid days. As hot air rises and hits the cooler air above, moisture condenses into clouds. This process, occurring on a large scale, will eventually produce towering clouds and even a thunderstorm. But we also need wind shear, wind speed or direction that changes with height. For example, at the ground, the air is moving at one speed or direction, but above our heads, the air is flowing an entirely different way. In between, this creates horizontal rotation. When air rises quickly into a thunderstorm, known as the updraft, that rotation gets tilted vertically. As that spin gets stronger, the cloud base starts to lower, and sometimes a funnel becomes visible. This funnel cloud is made up of spinning water droplets from moisture getting continuously pulled into the storm. Once the funnel touches the ground, it becomes a tornado, kicking up dirt and debris. Whoa! The tornado may last for a few seconds, or it can go on for miles. 12 years ago, it was a weather alert that hit close to home.
An EF3 tornado just formed north of the Connecticut border and wreaked havoc over the southern Massachusetts area.
On June 1st, 2011, a tornado started right over the Connecticut River and moved into the southern section of downtown Springfield. Winds were up to 160 miles per hour.
In the basement now.
The tornado left behind over $230 million in damage, claiming 3 lives. In a tornado warning, it's important to know these tips to stay safe. When you're at home, go to the basement or your smallest center room. Stay away from all windows and cover yourself. If you're in a high-rise in the city, go to the lowest floor possible or seek shelter in interior stairwells.
5 years ago, a devastating severe weather outbreak hit Connecticut during the spring, bringing tornadoes and damaging winds.
That's right. A microburst hit Sleeping Giant State Park in Hamden, forcing the park to close for over 13 months.
And it was all about teamwork to restore and reopen the park. And I spoke with people who were there for it and remember it like it was yesterday.
Some places were just leveled.
May 15th, 2018 was a destructive day in Connecticut.
When I came outside, the park was unrecognizable.
Jill Scheibenflug has been the Sleeping Giant Park supervisor for nearly 37 years.
I remember early in the day them saying that we could have some bad storms toward the afternoon.
Bad turning out to be an understatement at the Giant, where 100-mile-per-hour winds toppled thousands of giant trees.
We've seen hurricanes, we've seen bad storms, we've seen blizzards and ice storms bring down trees.
For Mike Miller, director of trail maintenance for the Park Association, the microburst presented a cleanup challenge, unlike any other.
Nothing of this magnitude, not even close.
Fortunately, no one got killed, and I was shocked because when you saw how many trees fell and the fact that it only damaged a few cars, that was just amazing in itself.
But the scope of the damage went well beyond here.
The whole community was devastated. We'd have volunteers coming out, helping us clear the trails and literally going home and working on their own place to try and restore it.
A community that came together.
The total cleanup took 13 months. During that time, it was just a continuous effort
to clear the trails and eventually reopen the park the following June. There are still some scars.
What was different for me is it used to be kind of all shade. Now you go up there, a lot of sun up there that wasn't there before.
These days, the sun is shining.
I mean, all in all, it turned out okay.
And new trees are growing, even though the scars remain.
Another big threat of severe weather is how to deal with downed trees.
Yeah, and if you're not careful, the trees around your home could pose a bigger threat than you may think.
So here's some action you can take on your property before severe storms head our way.
People shouldn't wait to hear that a storm's coming to have their trees inspected. By the time that storm comes, it's too late.
Unfortunately, we've seen it many times before. The right gust of wind knocking down trees, leaving power outages, dangerous driving conditions, or damage to your home and property. Joe Braga, owner of B&M Tree Services in West Hartford, has some good advice. Spotting some of these signs may save you and your wallet, and it starts from looking at the bottom.
If you start seeing, mushrooms, any kind of, fungal coming out of there, it tells you some kind of root problem.
Fungal growth leads to rot, weakening the base and roots of the tree, and the roots are the anchor.
For that matter, in the top 12 to 18 inches in your soil.
Soil that is too wet, coupled with harsh winds, can also allow the roots to fail, so proper drainage may be something to think about. Now look up and take a peek from the limbs to the leaves.
Everything should be nice and green like this one right now. If your leaves are yellowing, you have an issue.
Check for dead limbs not producing any leaves either, or decay on branches and stems.
Large limbs come down in a windstorm that had large decay, big cavities in it, that if they removed that limb or maybe even removed that tree, they wouldn't have lost half of their garage.
Understanding the types of trees on your property too, like maple or ash trees, which were impacted by insects.
Like right now, the emerald ash borer killing all the trees. Well, those trees all got to come down.
But even a healthy tree that's top heavy could pose a problem.
A tree with a large canopy, it's like having a big sail up there. Maybe every once in a while thin it out to just let a little more air flow through there.
When Minutes Matter continues.
All aboard! We are taking to the sound to talk about all things hurricane.
Including a look at some of the storms that hit Connecticut the hardest. And remember, in severe weather, when it's safe, take a photo and send it to us with the Near Me feature on the FOX61 News app. It helps us understand and see the impact that any storm has on Connecticut. Find the Near Me button on the bottom right, tap the Share With Us button, upload your photos and videos, tell us about it, and submit. Success! That's how we get your photos right here on the air. Stay with us when Minutes Matter continues when we come back.
It's officially hurricane season, starting in June and lasting all the way through November.
Yeah, but it's September that's the busiest month for storms here during the Atlantic hurricane season.
And hurricanes and tropical storms can be powerhouse weather events.
And most people are familiar with the calm center of a hurricane called the eye.
And the calm area is surrounded by the dangerous eye wall.
In the eye wall, you can get some of the worst storm surge and worst wind damage. Here's how it works.
Hurricanes are like giant heat engines in the atmosphere, using warm, unstable air as fuel. As the air is pulled into the hurricane, it spirals towards the center, getting faster and faster, eventually rising to create the giant cumulonimbus clouds that encircle the calm eye. This unbroken vertical wall of clouds is the eye wall. The convergence of winds here is so strong that the air rises faster and with more force than anywhere else in the hurricane, producing intense rain and damaging winds. In the strongest storms, this can translate to surface winds over 150 miles per hour.
Connecticut has seen plenty of strong storms.
That's right, Rachel, but some past seasons have looked very different. Some years have been more memorable than others. We know you know, when it comes to hurricanes and tropical storms, it doesn't take a lot to cause trouble in Connecticut.
You make me very nervous. It's enough. I think a lot of people have had enough.
Have you ever been through this before?
No, and we won't do it again. We're moving far away.
Mention serious storms around here, and recent storms like Irene and Sandy immediately come to mind.
It's early, and this isn't even the bad high tide. This is supposed to be worse, so we're not taking any chances. We're going. I'm just hoping that we come back and everything's here, and our neighbors are all safe, and their homes are still here.
Unimaginable. I can't tell you how I feel. I'm just very nervous, and I'm nervous for everyone around us.
And rightfully so. Sandy in 2012, even without a Connecticut landfall, tore up the shoreline with hurricane-force wind gusts, killing 4 and causing over $360 million in damage. Fairfield and New Haven County felt the brunt of 8 to 12 feet high tide levels at its peak.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
This is a new scope. Been to a lot of things, a lot of fires. I was at the Trade Center that night. I've been a lot of places. But as far as my hometown, I've never lost 20-something houses in one shot before.
Just 1 year before, Irene, a tropical storm that skirted up the East Coast, making multiple landfalls on the way. By the time Irene moved out, 3 people were dead and 750,000 people were left without power. But not only were neither hurricanes, neither made a landfall here in Connecticut. And neither did Hurricane Bob, who came close in '91, striking Block Island, followed by Newport.
Rhode Island State Police have been instructed to order people away from the South County coast. The governor has also ordered all roads in Rhode Island.
I don't like this when it happens, and I keep saying, I'm not going to be here next year for the hurricane. And next year comes, and we're still here, so we pack up and leave.
In Groton, submarines stationed were told to leave port and to wait out the storm underwater. It was the right call. With hurricane-force winds including 100-mile-per-hour gusts, New London was battered. 6 people killed in that very populated region. Still, none of these storms made an actual landfall in the state. In fact, the last time that happened was almost 40 years ago. Gloria, September 1985. Westport, 5-foot storm surges that thankfully weren't worse because the storm hit during low tide. Still, beach erosion was all over the place. And oh, by the way, the peak winds weren't even on the immediate shore. 83-mile-per-hour winds were clocked in Waterbury. Power outages for 2 weeks for thousands.
The #1 goal of the FOX61 Weather Watch team is to keep you safe and informed every severe weather season. Make sure you turn on those push alerts. We'll send you real-time updates on the FOX61 News app so you never miss a warning. On behalf of Connecticut's news station and the FOX61 Weather Watch team, happy summer!